What is up, everybody? It's your boy Rogue here. So in today's video, I want to talk about Konami's plan to fix the Tenpai slash D-shifter problem. And it's fairly simple. I figured out the spice, y'all, or the goo, or whatever you guys like to say nowadays. So just looking at the format right now, we can all agree Tenpai and the card D-shifter are some of the most frustrating things we deal with in Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's talk about Tenpai, for example. It's the only deck in the metagame that can run all the hand traps from the more Charmies to the best hand trap, which is D-Shifter, which counters every other deck in the metagame, on top of just being an auto-win OTK deck where it just literally takes little to no skill to go Regeki again, can you out the third one, summon Hydra, search, attack for game, synchro summon in the battle phase, GG no re. Then we have D-Shifter, like I said, where you got decks like not only Tenpai, Ritual Bees, Centurions, and a bunch of other rogue decks that I'm pretty sure I can't think of right now that just goes D-Shifter, come at me, bro, come at me. You can't come at them, bro, and then they just full combo FTK, OTK, and just beat you. And this pisses a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players off, and rightfully so, because you feel like you haven't got to play the game. But on the other hand, we have the Tenpai and the D-Shifter people who actually play those type of decks say, well, how is this any different from the current metagame where it's literally make my board or bust? Now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has evolved to the point where it's like, you don't have to just break a board or got to go through many different omni-negates to win. We have slowly evolved into a healthier metagame where it's kind of like a tit-for-tat format where you got to dodge different layers of interruption. And me as a player, I personally would rather deal with interruption with maybe one omni-negate versus dealing with either some floodgate stuff like D-Shifter and or a couple of formats ago where it's like omni-negate, 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 come at me. Now there's of course still decks that do the omni-negate, come at me bro type of playstyle, but they're very few and far in between. Now here's the point of the video you guys coming at. Chris, how is Konami gonna fix this? How is Konami gonna make the game better for us players? Simple. Power creep. Crossover Breakers is going to come out about, what, a month from now? We have two decks that are going to be debuting in that mini set that's going to change the metagame. Ryzel and Malice. Now, Ryzel kind of does get hurt by Shifter, but it can play around it to the point where it does not matter. The reason why Ryzel can play around D-Shifter is because they're a rank 4 spam deck. They have easy access to things like Baguska. They can also just do a lot of stuff like set up their field spell with negates monster effects, set up an interruption. So even if they do get D-Shifter, they're like, come at me, bro. Just like how the D-Shifter players are saying, come at me, bro. And then Malice, the deck runs D-Shifter itself. So it's kind of like it benefits when their monsters are getting banished. Now, I think this is a great thing because it shows that it kind of shows that Konami is kind of looking out for the best of both Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. Like, I've always been an advocate of block format, set rotation, and I know a lot of players, when I talk about set rotation in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, they don't want to do it because they feel like set rotation would just obliterate the game. And I disagree with that. However, Konami just said, screw it, since we already know our player base does not want set rotation, let's just make the game get power crept into oblivion. But I will say this though, moving to the next format, I think it's going to be 10 times healthier than this format, and here's why. Ryzel and Malice really aren't that OP. Now, before you guys click the video and go in the comment section saying I'm bad, make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button for more. However, before you do any of that extra stuff, hear me out for a second. What does Ryzel typically, their typical end board, when they're not Baguskoing or Abyss Dwellering the opponent that's just floodgates their deck? They end on a monster that pretty much says he can't be destroyed by battle. When he's destroyed one time, you can attach a material. And then when your opponent special summons something, they can attach a material to pop a card on the board. And another monster that just searches the field spell. And the field spell says, detach a material, negate a monster effect. Malice, they do a lot of, I don't know everything in Malice. I haven't studied the deck extensively yet, but from what I could tell, they just link spam a lot of the newer cards and they can hit for heavy damage on their turn in a suited OTK. But that's not nothing too crazy compared to the Snake Eyes stuff that we currently have to deal with, where it's like multiple layers of interruption. The Tenpai problem where it's just like D-Shifter, you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Yugioh, even when Yugioh pops off, depending on what version of Yugioh you're playing, you can play version of Yugioh that has multiple layers of interruption with a barrel dust on the side, which is an omni-negate, or you just play like the best version with Fiendsmith that's going to give you an interruption, an omni-negate, or the Azamina stuff. So you're going to have a lot of different ways to build a Yugioh just to say screw you. And then we also have Azamina, which is the snake eyes version that plays right now, that has the multiple layers of interruption with the Azamina card that is pretty much a free omni negation for said player that's using that deck. So when you compare Ryzel and Malice to those decks, their inboard is not as scary as those decks, but where they benefit at is resource management. Like, bruh, before I filmed the video, I watched a few games of Ryzel just playing in the OCG because I'm studying the deck before I can play it myself. And man, the deck reminds me so much of how Gadgets, it's like a modern version. It's literally just a modern version of Gadgets. Specifically double summon Gadgets or chain Gadgets, the deck I used to run back in 2014, 2013. Because it's really all about resource. It doesn't really do anything too crazy. They have a few cards that says, hey, we're gonna actually just OTK you, or not even OTK, they have a few cards that says, hey, we're gonna floodgate you with pseudo monster effects. And they also have a few cards that's just gonna go ahead and just shut you down, but they really beat you just by having more card advantage. Some people may even call that anti-meta. Like I said, Malice on the other hand, they do the same thing just in a different way, and they really don't get affected by D-Shifter. So I say all that to say this, man. Konami is going to fix the Tenpai problem / D-Shifter problem by just power creeping it and making those cards not as powerful as they used to be. Like, I've literally watched a Ryzel player get shifted and still beat his opponent because he just had interruptions. And Tenpai is already weak in the TCG. If you have a Ghost Ogre, you're pretty much going to beat them 9 times out of 10 unless they just have tons of follow-up, which they can do because in the TCG, everybody I play that runs Tenpai Direct, they always had a Regeki, they always had a Droplet with the Regeki, and they always have some way to wipe her back row, whether it be Lightning Storm and or Harpy's Feather Duster. But I do empathize with the Tenpai players, and I understand what they're saying because when you really look at it from an outside looking in, both strategies are extremely toxic, and then you also have the one people who like to play Runic that just kind of ruins everyone's day. And I think Runic also can run Shifter as well, so it's kind of like, yeah, why do you think people kind of like hate these decks? They hate these decks for a reason because it all depends on what kind of game you want to play in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Shifter players want to play something more of a simplified game state, and the simplified game, and the people who don't play Shifter, they rather just play a game where it's like, we're going to try to break the boards, chop the deck down, and just attack for game in a slow passion. Me personally, I'm in the middle. Like, I don't necessarily hate the D-Shifter decks, even though they annoy the hell out of me and they create a toxic environment. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just too far gone, which is why I'm excited for the next format that's going to, in my opinion, fix that and bring Yu-Gi-Oh! Back to somewhat of a slower pace, because we're definitely devolving from the Omni-Negate formats and going into something a little more slower, that's more tick for tat, with stuff that's not too crazy. So tell me what you guys think about this video. Comment this down below. Like the video if you're new here. Want to subscribe for more, subscribe for more. It's your boy Rogue, and I'm signing out. Peace. See you guys in the next video.